Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/spookshow. Then go over to morbidlybeautiful.com as we are now part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcasting Network.
It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder.
Have you checked the children?
I want to play a game. The box. You opened it. We came.
Here. This is the All-American Spookshow.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the All-American Spook Show podcast. I'm Josh. I'm joined here with Donny.
Hey.
And Professor Smoak.
What's up?
And as per usual, Will is back on assignment. He kind of pops his head up like, you know, one of those whack-a-mole games at the arcade. And then he realizes like, oh shit, I'm here, and then just has to go back down in the hole again. But yeah, he's not with us, so we'll get his. He actually did leave a few notes for this, so we'll get to that later on for like the kill count and stuff like that. But we are here to talk about the latest release on the horror calendar, one of the big releases of the year. You know, we'll get to our thoughts on it here in a little while, but you can't dispute this is one of the big ones of the year, right? One of the more anticipated movies of the year.
Yeah. And
that's Halloween Ends. This is wrapping up this current trilogy, which, you know, if you try to go down the rabbit hole of the Halloween franchise timelines, it's like that drawing in Back to the Future where, you know, in Back to the Future 2, Marty, you go down here and there's this little split off thing. You know, it's basically kind of what you got going on here, because this current trilogy that just wraps up with this was started in 2018, but this only pretends basically that the first movie from 1978 is the only one that happened. Halloween 2 and everything after that didn't happen. So it's a splinter off of that. And away we go. And this wraps up this trilogy based on the first one, if that makes any sense. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get into it here in just a second. But I guess before we get deep into it, I'll throw out some of the usual information. You can contact us at allamericanspookshow@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at AASpookshow. Of course, we're over on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, the Slasher app. You should be able to find all of those down in the Linktree link, down in the show notes. You know, also by searching for All American Spook Show. Should be pretty easy to find. And of course, we want to guide you over to two really big things. And the first one is our YouTube channel, which once again, down in the show notes, you should see that, where we've been really ratcheting up our content over there here lately. We've moved Spook Show Rewind over there. So that gives Donnie a chance to go back in the archives and watch some of those first movies that we watched, you know, way back when at the beginning of the podcast when he wasn't on the show. And it gives Smoak, of course, a chance to do the gore score, because we didn't do that back then either. We have our newish, how about that, series, Grindhouse Gutter, where the professor will take just pick something at random that kind of falls in that Grindhouse B-movie type of movie that you would have watched in the grindhouses and drive-ins and everything. And we talk about those. So that's always a good time. And we're going to be introducing a new one very soon. Maybe this week, as soon as this week. We've got it in the can. There's still some post that needs to be done. But the next series that we're going to be offering over on YouTube is Hammer Horror in Order. You have to kind of split it up there, because otherwise it sounds like something else. But basically, the explanation is in the title. Like, we're basically going to be going to the beginning of Hammer, not the beginning of Hammer Films, but when they did their first horror movie, and we're going to be talking about the horror movies that they did over the years from 1955 to say 1979, and even possibly the TV series and the revival back in 2008ish, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And we're starting with the first movie, The Quatermass Experiment, aka The Creeping Unknown from 1955. So you want to keep an eye out over on our YouTube channel for that. Like I said, if it doesn't come out this week, definitely by next week. We're going to have new rotation of stuff over on YouTube. And of course, we also encourage you to go over to patreon.com/AA Spookshow for Craps for Peace Theater. That's the main event over there. We also release the episodes of the podcast early over there. A number of other things. Library of the Professor every month. We're probably going to be introducing a new thing or two there eventually as well. So Professor's Retro Review articles are over there. So lots of cool stuff if you become a member of the Spook Show at patreon.com/AA Spookshow. So yeah, there's all the preamble out of the way. So I'll go ahead and toss to the trailer for Halloween Ends.
It's been 4 years since Michael Myers vanished without a trace.
Hello?
I was certain that I saw him watching me.
You pretend like you moved on, but you're actually just obsessed with death.
What are you gonna do when Michael comes back for you? Because he is coming.
But this time, something feels different. He's more dangerous. He killed my daughter. But tonight, I will kill him. Come and get me. Maybe the only way he can die is if I die too. It all ends now. You came here to kill me, so do it.
All right, so there you go. That's the trailer for that. So, sometimes we go through and say, hey, have you seen this movie before? Like around this time, but we can't do that for this one. This movie literally just came out this past Friday. It was released
a month ago on the Broken Stick. No, I'm kidding.
What? This is the first time you've got a pre-copy to watch in advance, an advanced screener. But it just came out this past Friday, October 14th, in theaters and on Peacock simultaneously. Technically, I think it came out like Thursday night. There were, probably like, sneak preview type screenings on October 13th. And I think they released it on Peacock at like 8 p.m., starting 8 p.m. that night too. So you may have watched it this past Thursday night, but otherwise, yeah, that's how it's available. So if you can get your hands on Peacock or go out to the theaters, we encourage you to at least check it out and form your own opinions. And that's probably a good time to mention also, we are a spoiler-filled podcast.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's probably especially important here with a movie that not everyone has probably seen yet. So fair warning, from this point forward, we are going to spoil this movie. So if you have not watched Halloween Ends, we encourage you to pause this, go watch it, go over to Peacock, go to the theater, however you got to get it, watch it, and then come back and listen to the rest of this, because this is going to be an interesting ride here once we get down to what our thoughts are on it.
If you didn't want to know that Michael Myers is Jamie Lee Curtis's father, and they're going to take over the galaxy together, that's what he would do, then you should probably not watch any further than this.
Yeah. Hey, watch it. I mean, we said we're spoiler filled, but we can't get crazy. I actually found, for a newer movie, this is something you don't always see. I actually found an alternate title for this, and it was the working title when they were shooting it. It was called Cave Dweller. I guess that was just to completely throw people off the scent. I don't know. Maybe, it's not unusual for them to come up with some silly name as a working title, even though it has nothing to do with the movie whatsoever. But, Cave Dweller.
That doesn't happen. This one guy following him around going, damn, I knew they were going to shoot Cave Dweller. I didn't know it was going to be now, though.
Yeah. Which I guess now that you think about it, now that we've seen it, It doesn't make entirely, and it's not entirely crazy, right? Because where Michael was, right? So
Yeah.
I guess maybe okay, we can go with that. It was produced by Miramax, Blumhouse Productions, Trancas International Films, and Rough House Pictures, and it was distributed by Universal Pictures. Rated R, total runtime of 1 hour and 51 minutes. On IMDb, it's listed as a horror/thriller. This is also the 13th Halloween film, and if you add them all up, the random Halloween 3 that has nothing to do with any of the rest of it, the two Rob Zombie Halloween movies, and now this new trilogy, you add them all up, this is the 13th Halloween movie. So, Smoak, what do you think? You think we're going to see any more of these?
Well, I think, before I say that, I think one other kind of random sort of correlation here is that Halloween hit its 13th movie mark before Friday the 13th. Because back in the 80s, I think, there was talk of like Friday the 13th. Well, we'll make them until we hit the number 13. That'll be it. There was even some like rumors of that type of talk going around back in the 80s. Now I don't know. Now that the legal disputes are coming, hopefully to an end or whatever, maybe we'll see a 13th, Friday the 13th. But I think it's funny that Halloween beat them to that. Milestone.
It's funny. Obviously, if there hadn't been all the legal bullshit with the Friday the 13th franchise, it would have done it a long time ago. The last one that came out was 2009, and I was just looking at what the timing was of that with this. Rob Zombie's, remember he made 2. His first one was in 2007, but his second one was 2009. So it came out. That means they hit number 10
in 2009,
into the same year as Friday the 13th hit number 12.
Well, damn.
Yeah.
So obviously, like I said, fast forward how many ever years it's been, we would have seen a lot more if they hadn't been for all that stuff. But yeah, we were dead in the middle of the Rob Zombie Halloween verse when the last Friday the 13th came out.
But yeah, as you were saying too, though, getting back to that, it was I personally don't think that we've seen the end of Michael Myers or the end of the franchise. I think we've come to the end of Jamie Lee Curtis's role in the franchise, according to herself. But I feel certainly let's be honest, this is a moneymaker, and it always has been, and it probably always will be until it does stop making money. And now, whatever the box office happens to be on this one, it's still going to make its money back, regardless of what anybody has to say about it. Whatever, when all is said and done, what we have to say about it, it's still probably going to make its money back. And at some point in the near future, we'll see another reboot. I feel sure.
And the funny thing is about that is, say what you will about these movies, Freddy, Jason, whatever. All they have to do is, like, if they make an especially shitty one, or one that really people just really like, man, screw this, right? All they have to do is just put it on the shelf for a while. Just wait.
Yeah, reboot it.
Yeah, just wait. Just wait 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever time frame, and then bring it back, and then everybody will be slobbering for it again. That's just the way these things work.
Yep.
But we'll get more to our thoughts on this film here in a little bit, and to see what we think about that, and whether there not only will there be, but should there be. We'll get there. But yeah, like Smoak said, as far as this little trilogy is concerned, and the run of Jamie Lee Curtis, and for that matter, Nick Castle as the Shape, this is it. Like, they've both said that, like, they're done. So whatever comes next, and that's really, honestly, that's not spoilers. We'll talk about that. But whatever happens next, it won't involve them.
Speaking of Nick Castle, I wouldn't mind seeing a Last Starfighter reboot. How about that?
Yeah.
Yo. Be awesome.
You're right. There probably would be a lot, I don't know if I'd say more on board for that than Halloween, but there would be a lot of people on board for that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, this was done for a budget of $30 million, and it was filmed January 19th through March 9th of this year, 2022, in Savannah, Georgia, and the surrounding area, which originally they were supposed to film this back-to-back when they did Halloween Kills. Mm-hmm. But I guess apparently somewhere along the line they changed their mind and said, I guess that was too much, especially with COVID and everything going on at the time. Maybe that's what did it. But they ended up, postponing it until this time period to do it. It was produced and directed by David Gordon Green, who, has done this entire trilogy. Also, he's more of a comedy guy. Now, I know he's kind of taking a turn. It's funny, like him and Jordan Peele are basically right at the same time period here. They're both taking that turn from comedy to horror. Because David Gordon Green did Pineapple Express, that HBO series Eastbound and Down. Apparently, after this, now that this is done, he's going to be involved in the Exorcist reboot, remake, whatever that's going to be, that's supposed to come out in 2023 next year. And then also there's supposed to be a Hellraiser series that has been announced that he's going to be involved in as well. I'm not sure if that's next year or the year after or whatever, but that has been a thing that's supposed to happen. I don't know if that's going to have anything to do with that recently released Hulu movie or not, but regardless, so you know he's got his fingers in the pie now of big horror franchises. It was written by David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, you know, from Eastbound and Down and a lot of other comedy stuff. Chris Bernier and Paul Brad Logan. I felt this was interesting because, you know, instead of taking a deep dive into what each one of those guys did for this movie, they cited their influences. Now, Smoak, I want to see what you think about this. For this movie, they cited their influences as Christine, Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker, and My Bodyguard.
Oh, well, it's interesting. You said Christine. I don't know that I saw a whole lot of correlation, but there was one scene in particular, and I can't remember. It was somebody in a car. The lights came on, and there was a stab of music, like they reminded me of like Christine for a second.
It was in the junkyard.
Yeah, is that the junkyard? Okay, I couldn't remember exactly what scene it fell in. I just remember thinking automatically in my head, like subconsciously even before I put it together, I'm like, oh, Christine.
I'm sure this is something we'll get deeper into once we start talking about the movie, but think about the story arc of this guy, this main guy, Corey, in the movie. And he's wearing the leather jacket. He starts acting differently. It really is a lot like Christine when you think about it, when you hear that.
Just the way his arc is from how he started out to the end. Yeah.
How can you talk about any Halloween movie, and obviously this one included, without talking about John Carpenter? The soundtrack for this one was made by John Carpenter, his son Cody Carpenter, and Daniel Davies. Any thoughts on the soundtrack of this one?
Oh, I think it does what any good soundtrack does. It enhances the scenes that it's in, but also the fact that it's John Carpenter and his son is cool. And I haven't seen them in concert. I know they've been touring at various times together, playing various synthesizer music, whether it be soundtrack music or their own creations, non-movie related or whatever. So hopefully I'll get to see that. But yeah, John Carpenter's always been one of my favorite composers when it comes to this type of synthesizer school, like Goblin or Fabio Frizzi, etc.
It stars Jamie Lee Curtis coming back one last time, supposedly. But I think I kind of believe her this time around for sure. But she reprises the role as Laurie Strode. She would best be known for, obviously, this trilogy, but the original Halloween, The Fog, another John Carpenter classic, Prom Night, Terror Train. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, we could sit here for 30 minutes just on Jamie Lee Curtis and specifically just her imprint on being a true horror scream queen legend and everything that she's done in the horror genre and other movies as well, you know, non-horror movies, but her fingerprints are loom large over the last 45 years of horror cinema, right, Smoak?
Yeah, I think I foresee a spotlight in our future at some point with her in it.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely should do that because we haven't done any we've only done a few Spookshow Spotlight episodes on a particular person, but we haven't focused in on any like Scream Queens or anything like that yet. So that she would be a good place to start if we're going to do that.
Yeah, I think so. I think you could almost say, I mean, if you're not talking about, if we're talking about 70s, 80s, you go back to before that, there was no talk of Scream Queens, even though there were a lot of actresses in the 30s and 40s that reprised a lot of horror roles throughout the Universal catalog or MGM or whatever. But when we're talking about Scream Queens, we're usually talking about 80s and going back retroactively to the 70s where they would have started. And she's the first one I can really think of. I mean, when you think, Halloween, 1978. So, and then Terror Train, Prom Night.
And they all came out around the same time, right? Like that, first 5 years,
early 80s.
Yeah, that first 5 years or so of her career was like, bam, Halloween, The Fog, Prom Night, Terror Train. Like it was one after another for a while, and then she kind of went away from horror a little bit for a while there because she just didn't want to be, that person. But yeah, I'm thankful that she did embrace it to a level that she has though now. I think now she can appreciate it for what it is. I'm sure she wanted to break away from that and do different stuff back in the 80s, but at least now I think she can see it for what it is and appreciate her place in horror history. So that's cool. It also stars Andy Matichak as Allison. Once again, mostly you probably know her from this trilogy, and she was also in a movie called Assimilate, and then most recently, I think just last year, I believe it was, she was in Son. James Jude Courtney as the Shape. He's been in a handful of other things, even like stunt stuff, But this would really be the one thing that he's probably going to be known for on the horror convention circuit for the rest of his life, right? Rohan Campbell is Corey. I think he was in or going to be in a Hardy Boys series or something. I'm not sure exactly where that airs, or on Netflix, something like that, whatever. But that's about it. That's about all you can pull for him. He hasn't done a whole lot yet. Will Patton, the complete direct opposite, as Frank. He was, of course, in this trilogy, but he was also in Armageddon, back in the 90s, that Bruce Willis flick, Ben Affleck. He was in the Mothman Prophecies. Just in the last couple of years, he was in the Forever Purge. So he's definitely one of those well-known character actors from a lot of TV, like every TV show of the last 40 years. This dude's probably had like some small role in them. Tons of movies. The dude has a ton of credits on IMDb. This was an interesting one. Diana Prince as the radio receptionist at the radio station in the movie. She would better be known as Darcy the Mail Girl from The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. So that was kind of a cool little pull, right?
Yeah, that was totally unexpected for me because, going into this movie, I didn't want, I typically don't like to know a whole lot about these movies. I don't even watch the trailers sometimes beyond maybe, I didn't see the second trailer to this movie until I was making a trailer for the podcast for it. Yeah. And I'm glad I didn't, because there were some things in there I'm like, damn, they gave this away, they gave that away. So
yeah, I'm the same way. I did not watch. Yeah. I think I saw the very first stuff, and then that was I'm done. Yeah. I'm not watching.
I think I was at a movie in the theater when I saw the first trailer drop, but luckily, I guess the movies I went to, I don't remember seeing that second trailer playing before any of the movies, or I was late getting there and we didn't see the trailers. But yeah, whatever the case,
I steer clear from trailers, especially to big releases like this. I want to go in cold. I'll remember, I remembered Halloween Kills, and just left it there. But I did not want to see any sort of teasers or trailers or anything for Halloween.
Yeah, I always try to do that, but sometimes it can't be helped. Sometimes,
sometimes you see things you don't want to see on online or whatever.
Yeah, or you go to the movie theater. You go to the movie theater, and then it just so happens that they're going to throw those big trailers at you, and then you shit, I don't want to watch this, but here we are, But
now I will say this: I did the only thing that I did see that I, as far as content that I did see, was Bloody Disgusting put out an article that had a little Halloween Ends 8-bit video game that you could play online. Yeah. And I think I sent it to you guys in our group chat.
Yeah,
that was the only thing I did.
I mean, it's a simple, goofy little game, Temple Run type of thing, but it was pretty fun, for a little time killer kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, also Nick Castle. I'm not sure if he was ever Michael Myers or the Shape in this movie at any point. I'm not sure of that. Maybe when later on when you took the mask off, it's possible. I never saw any ins and outs of that, but he did have a role in the. He was the guy that ran up in there was a Halloween party going on.
The Flasher.
The Flasher, yeah. When he opened up his coat, that was Nick Castle. So that was
awesome.
That was a pretty funny little cameo. But he was the original Shape from Halloween 1978, and also he actually directed The Last Starfighter, which we were talking about earlier. So. And a handful of other things, some I'm sure he would probably like to forget. But, Nick Castle's truly one of the icons of horror, for sure.
What is it? Hey, why, it's Buttercup. Popcorn, add some butter to hot popcorn. Mix it up, wrap it up, Buttercup is born.
It's delicious.
So nutritious.
It's a taste delight.
It's so munchy,
crisp and crunchy.
You'll enjoy each bite. Eat butter-drenched Buttercup. Popcorn at its best.
Served in a king-size cup.
It beats all the rest.
For you, the listeners of the All-American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So, I flipped on over to Audible and I just typed in Halloween Ends to see what would pop up. And sure enough, right out the top, Halloween Ends, the official movie novelization by Paul Brad Logan. Narrated by Linda Jones, and that one is almost 9 hours long. So if this movie being almost 2 hours long isn't long enough for you, go listen to the novelization. It's almost 9 hours long. We've also got The End of Summer, 13 Tales of Halloween by Jay Tonzelli, and that one's a little over 8 hours long. And then, let's see, anything else interesting? No. Now we've got Halloween, the official movie novelization. You know, that's the 2018 Halloween by John Passarelli. That one's just over 9 hours long. So, yeah, those movie novelizations sometimes can be pretty cool. Because obviously, you know, it being that long, they go a little bit deeper into certain aspects, and they also can help kind of explain certain things about a movie that maybe you didn't catch, or maybe they add more layers to it because it is a book. You know, so sometimes it's not. It can be deeper than just here's the movie read to you. You know, it's deeper than that. So those are always kind of cool. So if any of that floats your boat, go over to audibletrial.com/spookshow to get your free audiobook today. So I'm going to slide on over to IMDb and I'm going to click on plot summaries and see what pops up. And we've got two. The one sentence one, then one a little longer. The saga of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode comes to a spine-chilling climax in this final installment of this trilogy. And then the much longer one. 4 years after the events of Halloween Kills, Laurie is living with her granddaughter Allison and is finishing writing her memoir. Michael Myers hasn't been seen since. Laurie, after allowing the specter of Michael to determine and drive her reality for decades, has decided to liberate herself from fear and rage and embrace life. But when a young man, Corey Cunningham, is accused of killing a boy he was babysitting, it ignites a cascade of violence and terror that will force Laurie to finally confront the evil she can't control, once and for all. So, there we have it. So, who wants to start these shenanigans?
Well, one thing I just noticed too by when you read the name, and I don't know why I didn't catch this before. We discussed a little bit about the correlation to Christine, but his name was Corey Cunningham, like Cunningham from Christine. Cunningham. I didn't even catch that until right now when you were reading the names off.
Yeah, there you go. There's so many. There's so many damn comparisons, honestly. And look, I guess you could model your movie after worse, right?
Yeah.
Although it doesn't.
Another thing,
they don't entirely correlate, but at least you know it's another John Carpenter flick.
True, it was a nod. I mean, there are many nods, many that I didn't even notice. One that I read about was the font styles. Let's say Halloween 2018 font style was the same font style as Halloween 78. Halloween Kills had the same font style as Halloween 2, and apparently this movie, Halloween Ends, has the blue font style was from Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I didn't really catch that as it was. I didn't notice it in the theater or whatever.
I was thinking that when I was looking at it, I was like, man, that looks really familiar. Like, is that one of the 2, 3, 4, one of the early movies? But yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, I did not catch that.
Yeah, that's a good catch.
That's a good get.
What do you
I mean, where do you start? I mean, that's like you've got the. I guess he's a babysitter.
That's where it starts. And like, look, I guess we need to just approach this a little differently and just talk about this in the sense of like, why? Like, well, and I'm not completely shitting. I'm not starting out the conversation by shitting on this movie. I'm not. What I mean is, why have a trilogy that in the third movie you're going to introduce an entirely new character and go almost in an entirely different direction than you have the previous two movies, only to kind of wrap it up the way you did the other movies. Like this,
it's almost like they didn't have an idea for this movie in mind.
Until
they probably had the idea that they were going to do 3, but they didn't know what the fuck they were going to do for this. And so they we got to quick cobble something together.
But also, that's a really, really good point, Smoke, because we alluded to it, previously when we talked about, they talked about shooting this movie back to back with Halloween Kills. Did the break, did COVID have, some something to do with the direction or, the writing? Was it rewritten? Was it, what did the original script look like? If it was intended to be shot back to back, was this, part of the plan?
Was this movie that came out now the same movie they had when they were going to shoot it back then, back to back? Yeah, or did they have enough time to mull it over and decide, that works or not?
I just like, why does Michael Myers why does he need this, a protege? Why does he need it? Why is it? I mean, is it because he's, in his 70s and needs help? You know,
I don't think, and you know, this is like getting into the deeper end of the pool as far as like when you're talking about a movie is concerned, and particularly this movie. I don't think the intent was to introduce a protege as much as it was to show you that Michael Myers' evil has
many forms,
twisted and contorted this town so bad that they made another monster. Right? That's the whole point of this movie. That dude is so evil that just everything around him that he's touched, quote unquote, has made more evil, right?
So, yeah, it's like the one scene where Jamie Lee Curtis goes in to not confront, but goes into the mother of Corey, right? And she goes in the house, she's talking to her mom and whatever, and the mom's like, well, you killed you killed Michael Myers, and now they needed to pass on that angst and stuff they had to her son because of the accidental death, or quote unquote accidental. The movie leads you to believe, is it accidental, is it not accidental, but to whatever the babysitter thing when the kid died under his care and got knocked over the stairs. So then all the townsfolk kind of put their angst onto her son as being the new boogeyman of Haddonfield.
Yeah. And then he he became that. He gave in. He's like, well, fuck it. If they're gonna see me that way, let's give it to them. But what I mean is like in the sense of like, why make this movie? It almost felt like it's a soft pilot for something else or something, because let's face it, the culmination of the last two movies, Halloween and Halloween Kills, they really did not address until the last 15 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
You could have cut all that, and I'm not saying I had a big beef with it, but you could have cut all that shit out. Eliminate Corey. That didn't happen, right? Not only would this movie be 15, 20 minutes long, but you could have just made Halloween Kills longer, the end. Yeah. Right? Like you could have you could make some supercut of this and take the first two movies, re-edit them a little bit, take out some of the goofier parts, and then just slap the end of this movie on it, and you got two good movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of build this up. As far as it was kind of build up to basically, myself, I didn't watch any trailers. So what I know from Halloween Kills is it was set up for Laurie and Michael to be, kind of face off one-on-one. It was kind of build up like a pay-per-view almost.
Yeah. Because if you remember Halloween Kills, when we talked about that one, they went out of their way to kind of keep them apart. And remember, most of the movie, she's in a hospital bed.
Yeah. And I don't know if that, going back a little bit, and Jamie Lee Curtis, when she took the role for Halloween 2018, she said that she didn't know it was going to be a trilogy. They didn't tell her it was going to be a trilogy at the time.
And they probably
didn't tell her until they were shooting it. The second part and the third part.
Yeah, and to be fair to everyone involved, they probably didn't know either. I think I remember reading, in research for this, there was some comment from David Gordon Green or Danny McBride that basically they had kind of an outline for more, but they wanted to see how that first movie went first. And then as soon as it did banger, now let's go, and then boom, we've got two movies,
Then maybe they needed to find a way to fit to keep that character, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, in part two. But it's just weird that most of the movie, like I said, she's in the hospital bed, and that whole scene is actually my weakest part of the second one, was that hospital scene that went on endlessly. It seemed like, and just kind of pacing.
Scene, and then that scene of that guy that was the other escaped mental patient, that they just chased around for 20 minutes.
But this one, and I know we're kind of without actually hitting some of the high points and highlights.
We'll get to the highlights in a minute. I think they need to be just first.
It seemed like all of the main characters that we're used to in this in the prior two movies, seems like almost everybody took a back seat. Laurie Strode was basically like a bit player. And Allison was
for most of the movie
useless, just about useless. Yeah, it's just,
pretty much Michael Myers. Pretty much the entire movie was Corey.
Yeah,
he was the star of this movie.
How long into it was it that Michael Myers even showed up? Because I remember sitting there thinking that in the theater, when is Michael Myers even going to show up in his own movie in the last part of his own, the last part of the trilogy of his own
I don't
series.
remember how long it was, but it was easily like I'd venture to say at least 30 minutes in. You know, I didn't have
And then
I didn't have a
when he
stopwatch
does-
or anything, but it was a while in.
Yeah. I know. I'm sitting there watching it, so I didn't want to kind of pull out my phone, but I literally was thinking about, I'm pulling out my phone and see how long it's been, but I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's been at least a half hour, if not a little bit longer, before he finally showed up in full form. I mean, you know, they kind of alluded to his hole, and that's another thing too. What about the pipe down there? It's kind of like is he down there with Pennywise now? And what's going on with the with the sewer pipe?
Yeah, I don't.
And how much time has passed here? Right, that
4 years, I think.
yes, because that like it's kind of real time, right? So like the events of the first two movies all happened in 2018, and now we're 2022. Here we are. So that means he's been sitting in a sewer pipe for 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that part was just kind of weird to me. That the sewer pipe dwelling Michael Myers.
Yeah,
and some people knew about him, like the bomb that was there. He knew about.
Well, you could
him
wave,
being down.
you could wave that off, like if some crazy bum came up to you and said, "By the way, Michael Myers is down in that hole." You're probably not going to believe him either, you know. But
oh, speaking of that guy, man, the Corey has the worst luck because now he accidentally killed a second person.
Yeah,
the bomb, you know.
Yeah,
it's true.
Well, he hadn't really
killed two people accidentally.
And that's
quote,
another thing that's worth bringing up that I didn't put in my notes since you mentioned that. Michael Myers, he killed one person in this entire movie. Am I wrong? He killed Corey.
Two though. He killed
he killed the nurse.
Girl.
Okay,
yeah,
you're right.
to the wall.
When they had the little spree. Okay, I forgot about her. But Corey did all the killing, other than those two, right?
Which, by the way, that was in the trailer that second trailer, and I'm glad I didn't see it because I've been mad. I'm like, damn, they showed I think it was only 2 kills, but it showed that in the trailer, him stabbing the nurse to the wall. I'm like, why are you going to show that in the trailer?
Man, that's weak. That's weak. Giving away one of the better kills.
And that one mirrored the kill from 1978. Remember where he stabbed, hung the person up on the wall with the butcher knife in part one?
And does the little head turn deal. That's always in there. Yeah. There was some cool homage type of stuff like that. And the sit up, right? Like, I know nowadays people think of The Undertaker, right? Doing the sit up. But, but like Michael Myers originated that shit like that. He's dead. He's down for the count. Whoop! He's back up. You got that.
Yeah.
There were some cool death, some kill scenes here. Probably one of the more fucked up. I mean, there's a couple of pretty fucked up ones, but one that immediately comes to mind is right at the beginning. That kid falling down. That was fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes out of like, you're like, oh, because the door, boom, he gets through the door. Then the parents are walking in, like, and then the kid falls right then, and it's like all within like 2 seconds of editing. It was good editing and good just oh fuck moment, like stuff.
You get that. Corey, like you said, accidentally kills the hobo because basically the dude attacked him. So you could forgive that one because it was kind of like self-defense.
Yeah.
But then he, it clearly flips a switch for Corey. Basically, that guy Doug, the cop that was dating Allison. He basically sacrifices Doug to Michael, right? That whole scene was a little weird. Like, he kind of gets Doug down in the sewer hole, and then Michael Myers attacks him, and then, like, it's almost like it started his killing, his bloodlust again. You notice that? There was, like, a little, like, it's like Michael kind of shimmied, like,
yeah. Yeah, it's like it fulfilled him.
Yeah, it's like it gave him, like, he was almost like a dusty, half-dead kind of thing living in the sewer, and then he kind of sacrificed Doug to the god of Michael Myers, and now all of a sudden, like, blah, 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 he's back.
Also, like, Doug was, I guess, supposedly dating Allison, despite being, like, 50 fucking years old or whatever. Like, he was, he looked old, dude.
Yeah. There is a weird... I don't know what the phrasing of it is. The age thing here is kind of weird because like, I know it's 4 years later, but all of a sudden Allison goes from being a teenager in high school to all of a sudden like a 35-year-old waitress. It's like her complete. She changed a lot. And I guess you would if these things had happened to you, right? There's some realism there, but she changed a lot in 4 years. Meanwhile, Laurie goes from Sarah Connor and Terminator. Or in Terminator 2, the last two movies, all of a sudden now she's baking cookies.
Yeah, it's like I mean, she was like Rambo grandma.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just such a stark comparison from what we're used to,
or specifically these two movies.
Yeah, it's
Halloween and Halloween Kills. This is so different from those. This almost is so polarizing. Like, you almost have to wonder, will this be one of those movies that's like kind of universally somewhat shit on right now? And then 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, people might say, well, you know what? They were trying something new there. You know, maybe you'll remember it differently one day, maybe. I don't know.
Like, I'm not against a shift, but it's just, why now? Why at the end, quote unquote, end of the, this particular trilogy, or, end of the franchise, do you have to do this now?
It's like it's like a TV show that's been on the air for 10 years, and then all of a sudden in the last season, and everybody knows this is the last season, let's have a backdoor pilot for this new character that just shows up.
Yeah, sort of like a spin-off.
So we can have a spin-off next year. That's what it felt like, until you get to the point where, like, well, no, that ain't going to happen because Corey's fucking dead. So that's the end of that, So
it was like, what was the point of it in the first place?
So it gets back to my original point when we started this little round table. Why? Like, really, why?
And also, on what planet are band nerds bullies?
Yeah. Well, me being a band nerd, right?
I was one. Yeah.
I was a percussionist all the way through, high school. Band nerds were not the dudes that were going to start picking on random guys in the street and beating the shit out of them and tossing them off bridges. Okay, this was not going to happen.
They also had a motley crew of people in there too. Like, you had
it was a weird combination of
one guy looked like somebody from Gummo. The guy that had the acid wash he looked like he stepped out of Gummo or something.
You remember when we watched The Return of the Living Dead? all the way back in episode, what was that, 5? And I said that in that episode, that group of kids that was hanging out together that would not have hung out together. That's what this felt like. It's like, here's
true.
Here's this
maybe,
four
there you go.
people
There was a nod to Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, I guess maybe. But it's here's this group of people that there's no way in real life these people are hanging out. Yeah, but here we are. I guess they needed somebody to be the assholes.
I guess so.
Yeah, you got to have villains. You got to have conflict.
I get it, but.
And as we mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned this off air or earlier when we were talking about it. That also was another correlation with Christine, the bullies and Corey. Kind of like the bullies and I can't remember his name, but the guy with the switchblade and the greaser guy from Christine that was giving Arnie problems and stuff. Remember, I can't remember his name in the movie, but that guy is kind of like that crew.
How about the weird addition of the radio guy?
I was going to say that too. Right off the top, as soon as the Universal logo goes boom, and you get I'm blah 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 with W, and this is so they open it with the DJ.
They were really pounding that radio station and that DJ hard, there's going to be some payoff.
Whatsoever, right?
No, I don't remember. And then you're thinking well, this is going to play somehow, and it did, but it was weak. It was okay, well, he goes in there and they kill him.
It didn't make any sense. It didn't tie into anything.
No.
It was just so random.
The only good thing that came out of that was the kill. His kill was pretty cool. Was probably one of the goriest kills in the movie was his.
Oh yeah.
And the whole, his tongue gets cut off with the scissors, and then it lands on the platter of the turntable, and then the turntable's spinning, and the needles hit the tongue and bouncing over.
That was pretty fucked. That was pretty fucked.
Can we talk a little bit about the? There's no way that lady survived a light bulb stab to the neck. There's no way that she survived that.
No.
And yet there she is. Oh yeah, her voice. She can't talk. Shit, she shouldn't be breathing. She should be dead.
Yeah.
How is she alive? How do you live through that?
I mean, obviously, there's always that suspension of disbelief factor in all movies. Well, I say that because Corey, his final moments, motherfucker stabbed himself in the neck with a butcher knife, right? Like a big knife, but he was still alive. Horse shit. Especially after how long he laid there, right? Like I might can believe you stab yourself and then like maybe immediately you might, but like 10 minutes later, nah.
I'm sorry,
No.
you're gonna what?
You're gonna wake up and go, but like no, you're not gonna survive that. And then of course that was just to set up Michael coming over and snapping his neck. But
Well, you know what? It almost this is just something like I was talking about it. I observed that it's probably not where they were going with it. But why does it seem like they're making Michael from the boogeyman, the supernatural entity, into just a man, and the townsfolk are becoming the superhuman power. Like you said, that the woman survives that brutal stabbing, and then and then him and all that. So it's like the townsfolk have these powers that Michael used to have and doesn't have anymore. I mean, I don't think that's what they're going for. But just kind of, like the line Jamie Lee Curtis says, "You're just a man in a Halloween mask. What are you going to do now?" Like that was another direction I didn't like where it's going, because I always liked the direction of Michael Myers being, the Shape, being the boogeyman, being the supernatural force of Halloween or whatever. And they twist that basically and make it be that no, he's not that. He's just a man in a mask, even though he survived being shot 6 times. And
I think they really take the whole thing with Corey and this basically 90% of the movie. I think it really takes away from the sting or the punch of what you see at the end. It's like by the time you get there, you're just like, all right, well, fuck, just fucking end it. Who cares? Kill him, don't kill him. I don't care anymore. Whereas at the end of the last movie, you want to see them get him. Because
see more.
Like they have tried to kill this dude 40 ways from Sunday, and then right at the very end, remember, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Halloween Kills, you definitely should. Laurie's daughter.
Yeah.
Right? Laurie's daughter gets killed, so you're like, oh, fuck. Now you thought she had motivation before. Now, she's going to fuck him up. And in the end, no, 4 years have passed. She likes to bake cookies. And
yeah. I know, it's like she was more driven the other movie. She was more driven
absolutely
when the first Halloween 2018 came out. And then after her daughter gets killed, she's less driven to... I mean, I don't know.
I guess the question is, did we really need a Halloween movie that was about, growing as a person? Did we really need this?
The reason we didn't care that much by the time you get to the end of it is, like I said, because they spent most of the movie on the Corey character, and Michael Myers didn't show up until halfway into it, and and what is he? He's almost like the sidekick of Corey.
Yeah.
There's that time when Corey comes back. I guess he decides he wants to be Michael Myers anyway. So he comes back to the drain pipe, and him and Michael kind of have a wrestling match. And then Corey steals Michael's mask, climbs the ladder. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't climb a ladder, but
he climb back out or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, why? I mean, really. Honestly, like I said earlier, I think you could have made with the way they told all this trilogy. I'm just looking at this trilogy. They could have done this in 2 movies. This was so unnecessary.
I feel like this movie that we got was not the original plan. If I firmly believe that this was not the original plan. If they intended on shooting this back to back with Halloween Kills, I think we were supposed to get a different movie. I don't think this was supposed to be it.
The end, the death of Michael Myers. What did y'all think of that?
Yeah.
Not almost like the double or triple death of Michael. Like, what did y'all think of that?
I personally, like I was saying before, it kind of ties into that. I thought it was weak in that, as I said, he's supposed to be the boogeyman. He's this entity, even though they're skipping all the Halloween movies except for the first one in 1978. It still could be said in 1978's Halloween movie, he was also sort of portrayed that way, the supernatural entity of Halloween.
Yeah,
the boogeyman.
Between what happened to him 40 years ago in that original movie, and you combine that. Okay, well, let's get past that for a minute. What happened to him not only towards the end of the first, this reboot, right, where he's caught on fire, but that last movie where didn't they beat the shit out of him, stab him, shoot him? They had him in the street. It was like a lynch mob.
Yeah.
They killed the dude basically, but no, that didn't kill him. But Laurie in the kitchen with a knife, like the movie Clue.
Yeah, she slit his throat, right? And then she like slits his wrist down the side, whatever. And okay, you said, yeah, that's going to kill a person. That's going to kill a normal person.
Yeah.
But Michael took six bullets in the first Halloween movie. What was it that happened in Halloween 2018? The burning. He was burned up.
I want to say he got shot and stabbed, but remember she locked him down in the basement and burned it, and then he got out of that.
Yeah.
And then, but the last movie, I'm telling you, they pummeled the hell out of him, and he walked away from that, and that's the way it goes down. 4 years later, after he's been drying up like an old mushroom in a sewer pipe.
Yeah, that was a pretty weak ending for him, I think, and for her. And, and then they also teased it this was in the trailer, and I'm glad I didn't watch it, but it mentions like, okay, Michael, the only way we can end this, you have to kill me too, then. You kill me. And so, they play that through here, like you think that, okay, both of them are going to die or something, or,
How about the impromptu death parade?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
all of a sudden, the whole town just showed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had him tied to the roof, and then they bring him down
like a deer. Like that.
Although that did lead to one of the more gruesome bits of the movie when they throw him into that. It wasn't a meat grinder; it was like a tree.
Yeah, it's a shredder.
Okay,
whatever that device is. It's I think it's at I think it's a metal shredder. Like
that shit folded him up like an accordion. And they showed you every living second of it too. Like that was pretty. That was pretty good. Like, if you're gonna end this guy, that's the way to do it. Let's just make mincemeat out of this motherfucker. let's finally end it. And they did. But I guess we'll see where we all land on it here with our star rating. So, Donnie, I'm going to give you the pleasure of starting off.
All right. Yeah. Well, I think our sentiments are, and we're probably pretty much on the same page here. I would say, one thing it's got going for it is, it's not Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, because, at least Michael Myers shows up. One major, there's so many major detractors for this, but, I feel like this was the wrong time to have this sort of character-driven story. Now, I'm not against the shift at all, but if they had to do it this way, to me, this was the wrong movie for that to take place in. It was built up to be this, one-on-one showdown, Laurie versus Michael, and we never got that. Even at the end, even at the, it was not the knockdown drag out we were anticipating, and ultimately, it was just such a major disappointment for me. I want to make sure I rate it correctly.
Now,
but
do you want me, to be fair, do you want me to give out the ratings for? Well, you did not watch the first Halloween yet. That's on our next Spookshow Rewind.
Yeah, that's next.
Halloween Kills we did last year. That was episode 79. Donnie, you gave that one 3.5 stars. Smoak, you and I both gave it 3.25. So just so that's out there to be fair. That's what we thought of it.
What did I give the first one, by the way, before you get there?
You gave that one 3.25 after the re-rating and everything.
Okay.
So, yeah, all that said, I was, even going in cold, not even watching a trailer, having no idea what's going to happen. I'm just majorly disappointed here. And that reflects my rating. I'm going to give it 1.25 stars. I think this is the worst of the entire franchise. It's right up there, with possibly H2O. This one sucked.
Professor, what do you say?
Yeah, a lot of my sentiments going to echo Donnie's. I was pretty disappointed. Well, very disappointed with it. And more so, I don't know if anybody remembers that I was on Film Find with Adam discussing the first Halloween 2018 when it came out. And I believe, and then we did it afterwards. I believe believe that's how it was.
Yeah, I think you did it like right after with Adam on the Film Find. Right after it came out, and then we did it like the following January.
Yeah. So it's kind of like this similar scenario where it was right after it came out. I went on with Adam and did that, and I was disappointed with that one when it came out. For different, this is a different kind of disappointment. The reason for that one at the time was because it had been a while, and now you got Jamie Lee Curtis coming in. You got these expectations that you want to be met, and I didn't feel like they were quite met that first time around. But I gave it another chance, and I rewatched it, and then we did it on our show. I ranked it a little bit higher, and I liked it a little bit better that second time. this case, in this scenario, I know that's not going to be the case. If I watch this a second time, if I ever do, I know it's not gonna change my scoring of it. This is a different type of disappointment. We've already got the taste of the new Halloween, 2 movies in. Now this is the 3rd movie. I felt like there was a lot of other directions it should have gone. As we said, like Michael Myers didn't even show up in the movie that's supposed to be his ultimate conclusion until at least half hour or more. And when he did, he was sort of a weak character anyway. I mean, Halloween Kills, at least you did have it lived up to its name. There was a lot of kills in there, and by Michael Myers, and some pretty gruesome ones. What the positive things before I get to the rating that I could say about this movie would be some there wasn't enough kills. Michael Myers himself didn't do enough killing, but the ones that were in there were fairly decent gore effects, like the disc jockey who's ends up ultimately getting his tongue cut off, as we mentioned, and then Michael Myers' death himself getting crushed. I mean, he had his throat slit, and you got the blood splatter and all that. Well, I'll get into all this when we get to the gore school. But at any rate, some of the gore was decent, right? I disagree a little bit with Donny and the H2O thing. I think H2O wasn't the worst for me of the series, or for me it was the Busta Rhymes one. What was that? Halloween Resurrection, I think, where it was like a reality show, and Busta Rhymes was in it. That one, that was pretty bad. That was pretty damn bad. Now I haven't seen that one in a while, but I would rather watch that one than rewatch this one right now. But now it might still rank as my worst after doing that, because I haven't seen that movie but once, and it was when it came out in the theater. But this one's probably not going to be much better than that one to me. That being said, it's probably the second worst of the franchise behind the Resurrection one, unless I watch Resurrection and actually like it a little bit more. So I think I'm going to have to go with, and it just may get re-ranked. I'll probably go, I think I'm going to echo Donnie's with 1.25. I pretty much hate this fucking movie.
And that's the quote that they're going to put on the back of the Blu-ray when it comes out.
Yeah.
I pretty much
whenever I did the trailer for this, when you asked me about, could you crank out a trailer for this? I'm like, yeah, I could do that. I was tempted to like tack on that first part I did to it, and then right after that, coming back to me on camera saying, I fucking hated this fucking movie, and then fade to black. I didn't do that.
I was thinking he was going to put a clip of like you farting for like a solid 30 seconds. There you go. Oh boy. I don't think I hated this movie quite as much as you guys did. That being said, I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it again anytime soon. I'm sure there'll be some reason or another, or I'll plug it back in, maybe when you kind of get the taste out of your mouth 6 months from now, you'll sit down and watch it again maybe. So for now, I'm going to say 2 stars. I'm going to stay there because I think that will give me some wiggle room to go up or down when we re-rate it next year, because I got a feeling this is one that's going to be re-rated up or down. When you give it some time to breathe. I was definitely disappointed by it. I don't think there was any particular reason to go the path that they went, like we've talked about for the last hour or so. So yeah, I guess really the takeaway here is none of us necessarily loved it or didn't love it at all. Smoak even said he hated it. I think there are some redeeming qualities there, but really it was unnecessary. And when I guess when the rubber meets the road and you come down to it, like, well, was this necessary or not? And you say no, there you go. Like, I don't know what to say about that. It didn't need to happen. It didn't need to happen this way, I should say. They kind of built it up into something that it was not. And that's from somebody that only watched like one trailer, and didn't watch anything else.
Yeah, we were sold a bill of goods.
I was expecting something different, and then we got this. So
yeah.
Disappointed for sure. But for now, we'll leave it right there. Now, with our 3 scores, and this I didn't get Will's score when I talked to him earlier, but we're going to leave it at 1.5 right now. That's where we have it, consensus score. And we'll get Will's thoughts on it soon enough, and we'll see where it lands. But I got a sneaking suspicion he's probably not going to be that much different from us on this one. But so there you go. But before we completely move on from Halloween Ends, Michael Myers isn't dead quite yet. We haven't put him in the meat grinder just yet. We have a few more things to clean up.
Connections from the crypt.
All right. So, if you're new to the show, welcome. That should be, sorry you had to come in on this episode, but no. So what we do with the Crypt Connections is we tie the current movie with previous episodes of the Spook Show, either be it via cast or crew. Actually, we do both. And for this one, no surprise here, Jamie Lee Curtis connects back to Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. And on the crew side, the one that we did talk about David Gordon Green. Obviously, he connects to those. But there's a producer that connects to more Spook Show episodes, and it's Jason Blum. Halloween 2018, The Green Inferno, Crawlers, and Halloween Kills. So yeah,
Crawlers wormed its way back in.
Yeah, just worming its way back in.
I think we're starting to see a little bit of a common denominator here with the Blumhouse, Jason Blum stuff here.
Yep.
Not all of it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, saying. It's just
it's there.
All
right, so we do not have Will here for the kill count proper, but he did leave me some notes to take a look at for that. And I'm not going to run down like the kill for kill thing that he normally does, but he came up with a number of 18 on the kill count, which seems about right. Like, it's definitely lower than Halloween Kills, like Smoak, like you alluded to earlier. But there are some scenes of gore, so I guess we'll dip into that.
Gore score.
So yeah, as we talked about, there's some gore in here, but not as both the kill count and the gore quotient is going to be a little bit lower because, well, you had more kills in Halloween Kills. It's in the name, actually.
Yeah.
And so more kills, more gore because of all the different ways he used to dispatch people in that movie. And even the first Halloween, I think, was a little bit more gore than this one. But this one did have its moments, at least. We've already talked about the radio DJ's tongue getting sliced off. And the first kill in the movie of the baby of Corey when he's babysitting the kid. And that death was terrible. Then you had, what was it? You had some kills with you had the bum. Yeah, he gets stabbed in the stomach. It's one of those typical things of like you don't know who gets stabbed. Or you assume it's the bum, but it's kind of one of those things where somebody gets stabbed and you're like, oh shit, who got stabbed? And he pulls back and Corey's got the bloody hand and the knife in it or whatever. Not too gory or whatever. That was another one of the kills. And then you had the guy he lured down there, like the sacrifice, as you said, when he stabbed him in the chest times, right?
Doug.
Yeah.
And Michael got his power back, I guess, or whatever. Whatever that scene was supposed to entail there. And then you had the what was the kill with what was she, a nurse? Or the one that he stabs up against the wall, like the mirror kill from the first movie. Not overly gory, but cool because it's an homage to the first one, and she's standing there stabbed into the wall basically with her feet dangling. Then you have Michael's kill, of course. You had the guy's throat slit, so you had blood splattered, and you had his wrist slashed vertically with blood gushing out of that, and then his ultimate demise in the grinder there, the shredder. That was pretty damn gory. So yeah, it's got its moments. It doesn't live up to as much gore as was in the prior one. So and I gave the prior one an 8, I believe it was. So I'll drop it down to. I'll go down to a 7 on this one because the gore that's there is pretty graphic. It's got some decent moments. It's just not as much of it.
Yeah, I guess like I said, we'll get Will's thoughts and everything. His official star rating and all that stuff. First chance we get, but onward and upward to bigger, cooler things. Because next week we are going to have, for lack of a better way of phrasing it, an amalgamation, a super crossover episode with the guys over on the Hero Movie Podcast. Now, we've had Adam Portress on before, back in episode 119, Summer Camp 2015. He was a guest on that episode with you and it was me and you, right, Donnie, with him on that one?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So that was fairly recent, but we're bringing him back, and he's bringing his two guys, Bruce and Sean, over from the Hero Movie Podcast, and we're kind of having a super episode, and we let them pick the movie, and they chose Dr. Giggles from 1992. Now, I will lift the curtain back on this one and say that we have already recorded it, and it is already out there. If you want to go find the Hero Movie Podcast, their episode came out today. It's the episode that we did with them. So to be fair, it's more of like their episode and we are on it kind of thing, but it is a mismatch or not a mismatch, but a mishmash of our stuff with their stuff. So you really are truly getting some Frankenstein type of episode out of this one. You get the Spookshow flair, the Hero Movie Podcast way. So if you want to be a little impatient, go on over to find the Hero Movie Podcast and you can listen to it right now. Or if you want to be patient and wait, we will release that next Monday right here on our podcast feed. So that will be episode 131 next Monday at 6 p.m. East, wherever you get your podcast. I'll read the synopsis for Dr. Giggles. A madman who believes he's a doctor comes to the town where his crazy father was killed and soon begins murdering people and becoming infatuated with a teenage girl who has a heart condition. So that's as nicely as we can put it. So there's a lot of fun to be had there. Like I said, go check out the Hero Movie Podcast. Those dudes are always cool. Good friends. We've known, I've known Adam for a long time. We go way back. So, good friends of the Spook Show. We encourage you to go check them out and check out their archives too. They've got way more episodes than we do. They got like 300 and something, 400 episodes of the Hero Movie Podcast. So tons over there. But like I said, if you don't want to wait, it's available now over there. Or if you want to wait for it here on our podcast feed, it'll be out next Monday. So can't wait for Dr. Giggles. But beyond that, we've got the week after that. So this will be on Halloween Day. Episode 132, the 4th anniversary Halloween Spectacular 2022 will finally be upon us. So lots coming up. And of course, we're going to start our quote unquote new year after that off with a huge bang. Episode 133, the first one in November, Dawn of the Dead. I mean, it really doesn't, it doesn't really get any bigger than that, does it? I mean, like, we're starting it off with arguably probably one of all of our favorite Halloween movies. So, or not Halloween, horror movies, period.
And bonus, it's in the theaters too. So people out there may be able to go check it out in the theater if it's if you're in the area where it's playing at.
Yeah, heads up on that. They're going to be releasing it like a remastered version of it in 3D only for 4 days over Halloween weekend. So you still got time to go find your tickets, you know, wherever you can, like Smoak said, wherever you can get have a chance to check that out. That'll hopefully, if everything goes well, that'll kind of be the version that we're going to be watching for this. If it all times out correctly, we can all get on the same schedule thing, right? We're hoping to all go check out that 3D remaster and then, you know, come November 7th, talk about that one. But either way, Dawn of the Dead, pure classic. Can't get much bigger than that. So we're looking forward to that. So lots of cool stuff to end out the month of October and lots of cool stuff planned for November. So you don't want to miss a thing. So for Will, who's on assignment, Donny, Professor Smoak, I'm Josh. We are the All-American Spook Show Podcast, and we'll talk to you next week.
Please replace the speaker on its rack when you're ready to leave. Failure to do so will damage both the speaker and your car. We'll be grateful, and so will the patrons who follow you.